Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be world famous fortune teller and tell you exactly the Premier League table. Easy. So I've decided to leave this quite late for the transfer window to end, so that might give me more of an idea of what will happen, but probably newt. Started from the bottom, now they're here. But not for long is Sheffield United. I do feel like the relegation battle will actually be very close, but the only reason I'm going for them at bottom is because I'm not confident they can get all the balls and the goals enough to outscore the other teams. Their defence was good last year, but this is a big step up, so I'm not sure. I do think the bottom 5 or 6 teams will be 5 or 6 points between them though. Just above them and going back to the Championship is Norwich. They were one of the best teams in the Championship last season, but that was the Championship. But they've gone for the approach of not spending any money to stabilise their club, and I do think they will get some results, but won't be as good as the other teams. 18th and final relegation spot is Newcastle. The main reason I've gone for this is even though they have spent a bit of money, that's right, Newcastle actually spending money, I think they will soon realise how good Rafa Benitez made everyone else look, and I think they will struggle, especially at the start. Next up is Aston Villa. They could be Fulham version 2, Electric Boogaloo, but I actually think they have some good solid players in their team to be able to get some results. I feel like it may take them a while to get it going, but it will be very close towards the end. Then we have, unfortunately, Burnley. Burnley can frick off because I don't like their anti-football, and I do think if Sean Dyche wasn't there, they would get relegated, but for now I think there are teams worse than them, and they always seem to get results when they need them. Then we have Zaha FC. I honestly think Crystal Palace would get relegated if Zaha leaves, but they've somehow managed to keep him. Not out of his own will. But when he's in the team, they can get results, but the fact they're so heavily dependent on him isn't good, but good enough to stay up for now. Moving further up the table is Southampton. I feel like with the few players they brought in, they have strengthened rather well, and the Hazelhütten press seems to work well enough to not be in trouble of relegation for now. And the last team I believe could be in contention of getting relegated is Brighton. Now if you told me they would sack the manager that kept them up, without a replacement ready, I would have bet my channel that they would get relegated. But Graham Potter is a very good and attacking manager, and I feel like they now have some good players that work well in this system that could be good enough to get a lot higher finish than people think. Just below mid-table, and I expect actually a boring season, is Watford. They did do well last season, but I feel like they are the team that has improved the least within the mid-table teams, so I feel like the other teams will leapfrog them and go higher. Moving up, we have the attacking but sometimes shaky Bournemouth. I feel like mid-table is good for them. They are definitely good enough to not be in any relegation battles, and also not too far off of challenging a little higher, but would probably take a couple more years. Then this will be surprisingly to some, but in 10th it's Wolves. Now I think Wolves can actually have a very good season, but I feel like they might want to focus on Europa League so they can prove everyone how good they actually can be. I think 10th and a good European run would actually make Wolves fans very happy. Moving into the top half, we have Everton. Now I have seen some people predict Everton higher, but even though they've made a few signings, I feel like as a whole they haven't improved amazingly, so I think 9th is a good option for them right now. Next up is West Ham. They have improved quite well up front, and I'm thinking they can actually bang in quite a few, but defensively very shaky, so a higher up push, but not quite there yet for the Hammers. Then for the first time in a while, I'm going for Man United to drop out of the top 6 and into 7th. Now the signings are good, the youth players are good, but I don't think Ollie is good enough to push for anything more. He is a good tactical manager and can win those really hard one-off games, but I don't see that fight and tenacity to be ruthless and dominate games to finish higher up the table. Then going up into the top 6, I've gone for Leicester. They've made the solid sign-in in striker Ayoze Perez, and with their attacking play under Rodgers, I can actually see them getting into the top 6. I feel like this can go all the way to the last game of the season, and I hope it does. Then just missing out in 5th is Chelsea. Now the transfer ban is probably the best and worst thing to happen to them. Their amazing youth players can finally come out and show their worth, but obviously may take some time, so I'm going for a 5th place finish with a slow start and then some of their players performing really well and progress really nicely into next season. In the first Champions League spot, it's Arsenal. Now they've actually had a pretty good window, signing some players that could help get them into the top 4, even with little budget. Yes, they have lost Ramsey and Koscielny, but I think with the other teams being weaker, I guess, Arsenal could finish 4th. Now the 3 teams I think will actually be the closest is Man City, Liverpool and Spurs. Now Spurs are going to be in their new stadium all season, and they have strengthened their squad quite well, so I think they could actually be in the title contention. Liverpool have not strengthened, but also haven't lost anyone, but I think they really can continue their amazing form to challenge. And then Man City, even getting 100 points every season again, have spent over 100 million, so you would imagine they could do quite well again. So the winner of the Premier League next season is going to be Man City, with Liverpool second and Spurs third. I honestly think as long as the bald fraud in Pep is still at City, they're going to keep winning the league, but I do think all three of these teams will be up there all season, making it an interesting battle. And for top scorers, I'm going for Kane, Salah, then Pepe, and top assisters, I'm going for Trent, Sterling, and Eriksen. So there we have it. I will review my predictions at the end of the season, and I hope I've got at least one right. Let me know what your table prediction is and what you think will happen this season. Thanks for watching, and remember...
Don't be a cheeky scrub. Subscribe to Nathan Bacon right now.